After 4 days of sipping mimosas poolside while Kid waited for me in the cockroach-infested Motel 10, I was back in Lordsburg and ready to start another slog through the desert dirt. The walk out of town began with paved highway before going through a barbed wire fence and then cross-country across the desert. Barbed wire fences were probably one of my least favorite parts of the CDT, and they came up a lot more often than you would expect. As the evening went on, I moved up and down and in and out of washes, through shrubs and desert flora. I even saw some javelinas off in the distance, possibly my coolest wildlife sighting so far. I'd like to share a journal entry that this cow prompted. There's no shortage of dead things in the desert to remind us our existence out here is precarious. I feel it even without the visible reminders in the form of heat that radiates off the ground and causes blisters worse than I've ever had. I feel it when I'm thirsty, but have to remind myself to ration before I take a drink. I feel it in every pokey plant that scratches my legs, the defense mechanism they've built to survive in this harsh, parched landscape. But the desert is also very much alive, with little critters that come out mostly around dusk. Night hiking will show you just how much life exists out here, and what you can learn from it by coming out only when the sun goes down. And as the sun set, I realized I'd be night hiking alone until I made it to our camp spot. Cows are surprisingly startling by the light of a headlamp, but after about an hour, I made it, and Kid had the tent already set up. The next morning, we hit the 100-mile mark. Although my feet were still hurting, it was a nice reminder that we were still making progress, and hopefully, each mile would get easier and easier.
I don't know if it's the weather, or that I tightened my shoes, or that I took ibuprofen, or that I have probably 80 milligrams of caffeine coursing through my veins. But my feet feel good. I feel good. I was hoping it would turn around, didn't expect it to so quickly, and I'm very grateful.
Right around lunchtime, just when I thought my feet couldn't take another step, we ran into some trail magic. A lawn chair never felt so comfortable, and it helped break up our extremely long water carry. The higher we climbed throughout the afternoon, the more greenery we began to see. The desert started to feel more like the higher deserts I've hiked through before, and the promise of more shade gave me hope. We arrived at a cow tank right around dinner and took a long break in the shade while we filtered several liters of water. Other hikers came through who were stopping there for the evening, but we had planned to keep going, so we left for another 6 miles before camp. I began to resent that decision as I went up a steep climb while the sun was setting, knowing I'd be climbing and hiking in the dark again until I caught Kid. Luckily, he stopped earlier than we'd planned, and I was extremely relieved when I saw him.
Good morning from the CDT. Today I am demonstrating my tried and true philosophy of wearing whatever the hell it takes to get my ass out of camp. If I let myself wear layers, I leave the tent like 30 minutes earlier than I would otherwise, even if I get warm in the next 15 minutes. Especially when you're climbing for the first mile of the day. It was really windy this morning, and I have no regrets. Yeah. These are my favorite kind of mornings on trail. When it's kind of cold, and you're walking through the trees on a nice trail, drinking my Hiker Trash iced coffee, which is literally breakfast essentials and coffee mixed into water that got cold overnight. This is life.
It took 12 days, but I did finally feel like I was really enjoying a morning on trail. The higher altitude made for the perfect morning hiking weather, and I practically skipped for the first couple miles of the day. A few miles into the morning, we arrived at a spring that was our only water source for 22 miles. Things went downhill from there. We had to pack enough water to dry camp, and I won't sugarcoat it, all that extra water weight on my feet and back made for some miserable hiking.
We have a 22-mile water carry today, and there's so much freaking water in my pack. It's so heavy and miserable. I'm covered in town. We're on this fiery route that we're not even sure if we needed to take. There was a prescribed fire, and so we're not sure if it's done yet. And it goes on a road that like goes through a bunch of private property, so you can't really like, we could pull off to the side, but there's all these no trespassing signs, so we're not gonna. We still got like a mile and a half, and I want to eat lunch and take off my backpack. Yeah, that's your daily dose of me bitching, so.
We had some road walking in the afternoon, and while some hikers enjoy dirt road walks because they make for such easy miles, for me it just causes injury flare-ups and extremely sore feet. I'll take single track any day over a road walk.
So we are in the middle of a 22-mile water carry, and we came across this lovely Trail Magic. Just filled up a liter. I'm not going to take more than that, so hopefully the next person can have some, but definitely saved our butts. This section was a little bit hotter than we thought. Sweat a little bit more, needed a little bit more water.
I'm trying desperately to enjoy what I can, to find joy in the little things like the abundance of lizards and creepy crawlies that make the desert so special. We're even gifted an incredible sunset, but about a mile from camp, I just break down. My feet are absolutely throbbing, and I'm almost certain I need new shoes. When we finally get to our camp spot, I just sit, cry, and massage my feet while Kid sets up the tent. And I feel absolutely pathetic and honestly worried that if things don't get better, I won't be capable of hiking this trail. It's town day, and after last night's meltdown, I allow myself to take it real slow.
We are walking through a really cool little canyon thing, and it's a nice start to the day after yesterday. We did a 22.2 mile day, and my feet were not happy with me about that, and kind of had a breakdown at like mile 21 because they were just in so much pain. I think I need different shoes, and it's not fun to like want to quit every single day basically. So I'm really hoping new shoes turn things around for me because doesn't feel like fun right now. I've got 1.7 more miles until water, and that's the end of our 22-mile dry stretch, thank God. But then there's no water again until town, so that means I think we had like 19 miles till town, so we'll have like a 15-mile carry into town, and 12 of that is a road walk, which that's what has really been hard on my feet, I think, is like the flat, like hard road.
Another thru hiker we'd met in this stretch, named Gator, offered me a ride with his wife who was coming to get him. I was very much on the fence. There's a lot of pressure to stay, quote, pure on a thru hike, which on the CDT mostly means keeping a continuous footpath. Accepting the ride would mean breaking that footpath at what felt like a very early moment in my journey. It tormented me for a lot of the morning. Eventually, I made it to the most scenic cow tank we've seen yet and tried to get water without angering too many of the cows. Kid and I filtered together for a bit, but eventually he hiked on. Shortly after, the trail turned to gravel road and then the paved highway. It was time to make a decision. And after trying out 3 miles of the paved highway portion and experiencing cars going by at 80 miles an hour, I got in when Gator and his wife pulled over. That's when I decided my personal rule for the CDT would be to hike everything except for paved highways. And although it took some time, I eventually was at peace with this decision. We took an impromptu 0 on day 14 since Kid felt pretty wrecked from doing the road walk. We had a full-on photo shoot by Twerk in the laundromat, resupplied, and enjoyed the rest.